Hey, this is the Antisocial Socialite back at it again. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you're new to the channel, you have not yet subscribed, what are you waiting for, darling? Hit the subscribe button, smash the notification bell, so when I get to running this mouth in this BOTCH, yes sir, you are in the loop. I don't even know, I don't even have a title, so I'm just going to get straight into it. I was recently watching a live stream by Mr. Fantastic, and there's a lady on there, I believe at least part of her name is Faith, and I'm so glad I missed that live stream, because that would have been a moment where I would have been tempted to call in. You know, it was just, I've done a couple of videos now. One of them is, you know, black women secretly do not want a functioning black community. One of them was black women you make, good black men want non-black women. And the way this lady was debating the topic was literally, you know, the reason why SYSBM and MGTOW and IBMOR and why black men are going monk mode exists. Okay, so I kind of came into it in the middle, and it was painful listening. It's one of those videos where you cringe and you feel like, oh, if this person was standing right in front of me, I don't know if I'd be responsible for my actions. Now, I'm not a perfect woman by any stretch of the imagination. I hold my hand up. I've engaged in BFF. I've said things, I've done things, and I'm grateful to the manosphere that I've kind of come to an understanding of who I am as a person, what I've said, what I've done, and why. Okay? There's no excuses. There's just, it is what it is. Okay? But there's a number of things that frustrated me about the conversation. I'm going to link the video in the description below, so you can have a chance to watch it yourself if you haven't already. And it was so frustrating. It was frustrating, and it's painful. The intellectual dishonesty, the intellectual gymnastics were phenomenal. And even thinking about it now, hours after I finished watching it, I have like a bit of a headache, because I just don't understand how these women get up in these spaces. We're not talking about a month or a week. We're talking about some of them for years. They have been having these conversations, and they're still coming back around with the same narratives and talking points. And it's like, you know, like I've said before, and maybe I shouldn't say this, but if I was a black man, I don't know if I would want a black woman. I swear to God, because it's too much. It was so exhausting. Like, I'm a very emotional person. When I'm around a lot of things, it really weighs on me. And I can tell you, listening to this woman battle, argument after argument, you know, trying to refute point after point, and just doing these Neo-like gymnastics where she's dodging every bullet, it was like I was so drained listening to you, because you are not being intellectually honest to the fullest. So, you know how much I hate the storage space, and how when I do the video it says I can't upload this video because there's no space. You know, this is take 2. So I don't know if I can remember everything. So I'll start from the bit that I can remember. At one point, I believe Q Butter asked Faith, you know, do you believe in the concept of financial abortion? Which, from what I understand, is when a man turns around and says, look, I have the right to waive all rights to this child. I don't want to pay. I don't want to be on the birth certificate. It sounds like I completely abort the right to pay for this child. So he asked Faith a very simple question. If a man and a woman, they're at the point where they're going to have sex, and the man turns around and says, if you get pregnant, no, I do not want to be involved in that child's life. You know, should a child come about, you know, is that child their child or is it her child, kind of thing. And she was basically backing and forth in this argument that the child is both of their child. And he asked the question, if I as a father of the child want to have the child, but you do not, can I force you to deliver that child? We all know the answer is no. If I don't want the child, but you as the woman do, can I force you to abort the child? The answer is no. So how is it, this is the bit that kind of, got me started, was this debate about equality. How the hell can you say, I believe in equality, and at the same time, you have a disproportionate amount of right? If the man says, look, I know you don't want to be a mother, but I want my baby. Have the baby, and as it comes out of the womb, I will take it. And the woman says, no, not even just to carry the child for 9 months, I don't want. I would rather abort the child than give it to you. The man has absolutely no right or power to stop that from happening. Conversely, if the man says, I do not want to be a father, and even he makes it plain before the woman falls pregnant, but she still allows a pregnancy to occur, how is it equality if she can give birth to the child and even make the man pay child support, when the man made it very clear from before the pregnancy occurred, he did not have a desire to have a child, or at least not a child with her? The gymnastics, even now as I try to remember, are hurting me physically, not just mentally, because trying to wrap my head around this argument is ridiculous. And to be honest with you, women who make these kind of arguments, they are to a degree dangerous. They are dangerous because they go out into the world, they make content, they make posts, they're on social media, and what do they say to the women coming behind them? He got me pregnant. The lack of accountability is dangerous. It is dangerous. Not for the men, but for us as women. When women, you see, one of the reasons why my mother and I do not get on is because my mother can blame everything from Bigfoot to the Loch Ness Monster to sometimes she will say, racism, God knows who she will blame. But I don't know how many times, I don't know if I had no hands, if I could count on the 0 hands, how many times she has just sat down and said, I am to blame for the situation. I am the one that made this mess. And the thing that's so annoying is, as a child coming up, you start to piece all of the information together. You can't necessarily articulate, and you're definitely too powerless to fight, but you can see this adult has some issues. And one of the issues I have with my mother is her lack of accountability. And if black women have this bad habit of going out all the time blaming the white man, the blue man, the Yeti man, the friggin' tax man, you name the man, the black man, everybody's to blame but the black woman. That makes you dangerous. It makes you dangerous. Because what you're basically saying is, I can do whatever I like, but I don't have the right to get the consequences of my actions. But for every action, there is a reaction. For every action, there is a consequence. And when you lie to people and tell them there is no consequence, or the consequence is always somebody else's fault, you are leading that person who is already blind down into a ditch. This conversation was so ridiculous because it was so damn obvious what the brothers are trying to explain to this woman. Now, I'm not saying colorism doesn't exist, because I know that's part of the conversation. I know that there's featureism, and there's all the isms. You name the isms. Chairism, perfumeism. You know, I'm looking at a bottle of perfume. Let's just spray some. Yeah. Go on, CK. You know, TV-ism, you name the ism, there's a damn ism for everything. But the reality is this: we have to be accountable, because whether we like it or not, we are the ones who have to live with the consequences of our actions. There was some other things that transpired in this conversation, and I couldn't believe what I was saying and what I was hearing, because the way Faith is talking, you know, it's equality when I want it to be equality, and then it's inequality, or some person wins while another one loses when it suits me. Because she was like, well, I have a definition of equality that might not be your definition of equality. Because she was asked things like, do you believe in equality? This is how the whole abortion argument, to an extent, kind of came across. If you believe a woman has the right to abort a child she doesn't want, does a man have the right to say, I don't want to care for a child he doesn't want? Then she starts with, oh, I have a different definition of equality. The word equality has a meaning. No one asked you to redefine it. If the word can mean anything, it means nothing. So why are you talking about I have the right to my own interpretation of the word equality? These people are frightening. They are frightening. They're frightening because it's not just the fact that they're so intellectually dishonest in some respects. It's the fact that they are coming here or going into these spaces for years. A new person who's just showed up, who's fresh off the boat type situation, you can understand that person coming with blue pill nonsense. When I first joined this space, I used to say the same things. But as I stopped listening to respond and actually started to hear what the brothers were saying, and stopped, like a literal stop and thought, as I've said to you many a times, I have black women that I work with. And some of them are so overbearing that I need to change my damn job. Rude, aggressive, micromanaging. They don't know how to talk to people. Even me, myself. I have to check myself, because what to me is normal, to other people is offensive. And we don't see this behavior as inappropriate or abnormal or perceived as aggressive, because we're not raised to see it that way. We're raised to see it as normal and acceptable. I'm trying to think some of the other things that transpired in that conversation, because it was folly leading to more folly. It was ridiculous. I have to go to the end of the conversation where Faith says, you know, why are you black men coming to this space and talking about black women? If you have problems with the laws and the law is disproportionately in the woman's favor, why don't you come together and attack the government? Well, first and foremostly, black men who are online are not just online. They are doing things in the real world. But the point is, you have to start somewhere. She's saying the media hasn't given black men, black women alone a voice. Why didn't they have a voice before? Are you kidding me? After feminism, what voice is a man really going to have? Everywhere you look, women are marching, burning bras, talking about the oppressive system of patriarchy. And then you had decades of gynocentric media. Brothers brought up Oprah, Ricky Lake, Sally, even Montel, if you're not careful, a lot of these shows are geared towards emotionalism. And out of this generation of mainstream media TV, which has, you know, promoted the bashing of men and the demonization of heterosexual masculinity, then you have now the online movement, your Derek Jacksons, your Angel Ramirez, your Hoteps and your B1s and your pro-blacks, all of these gurus and relationship experts and PUAs and things like this. They're all born out of the same set of love relationship Farrah Grays. These men and women who just tell women what they love to hear, get them in this emotional frenzy. Where were the platforms for men? If men have been emasculated, if men have been told that the man that we like is feminine and he's in touch with his feminine side and he's soft and he's gentle and he's passive and he cares about the woman's feelings and he's in touch with his feelings, what kind of man is going to then say, I need to go and start a show talking about how awful women are? How much funding is that going to get? How many views is that going to get? Like what Snoop did or not, Snoop has to bow to the gynocracy because the women will drag him through the mud. And money, you know, comes through the hands of women, because once you tell women what they like to hear, once you impulse them properly, once you get them worked up emotionally, the hand is already in the pocket to give. So the mainstream media, social media, is not going to bite the hand that's feeding it. There was some other ridiculousness in this live stream, but I can't even remember all of it now because it was too much for me. But you can go and listen to it yourself. And I just shook my head and I said, this is exactly the reason why black men do not want to be with black women. If you're saying, why don't you lobby the government? What's the point of trying to change the laws if the institution that first breaks the individual is already broken? If the family and the women are not on board with supporting men and boys, there's no point to change the law, because even if you change the law, you know, some people talk about this, the incident of slavery, where in certain states slavery had been abolished for a year, but the people didn't know and they're still operating like slaves. If you come from a family where the situation is broken, it doesn't matter how much the law is changed. If a child is in the custody of a broken mother, the child is still going to be broken. And then right at the end of the conversation, she turns around and says, well, the reason why as a woman I don't need to support the changing of the laws for black men is because I'm not complaining about the laws. No, you are not complaining about the law, Faith, directly. I'm trying not to swear and I'm trying not to be rude. But if this lady and I were talking, I don't know what would happen. Not because I'm so perfect, but because her intellectual dishonesty is too much. It's too much. How the hell can you tell me the law doesn't affect you when you are the same woman complaining about deadbeat fathers? This was another point. You know, the memory has come back, you know. God forbid we have dementia, but it's not on me right now. She's like, oh, you know, we have allegedly the 70% out of wedlock birth rate. Faith, it doesn't matter what the damn percentage is, whether it is 1 or 100 million. The point is this: you as a woman control what baby comes out of your womb. Okay? You control what sperm goes in and what baby comes out. If a sperm goes in, makes a baby, and you don't want to keep that baby, you have the right to flush that baby out. And let's not forget paternity fraud. Women who step out on their partner and then pass off one man's child off as another. Is that also the man's fault, Faith? What about when women take the condom or they find other ways to acquire sperm? What about these women going to the sperminator? What about these women who are said, I told you, I watched 600 Pound Live. The black woman, she's caring for her sister's 3 children, but somehow she acquires 2 of her own. And she calls it, I was dating. But I very much doubt you were dating when you were 400, 500 pounds in weight. You were not dating. You made a deal with a brother and you said, look, I have my sister's 3 children, but I want to know what it's like to be a mother. All I want is for you to get me pregnant and I will do the rest. Because there's no conversation about how that relationship went or where those fathers are right now for these 2 boys that she gave birth to as a 500, 400 pound woman. And if you're not careful, the 2 sons that she gave birth to may not even have the same father. So is that the father's fault? When a woman says, I just want a child, I don't mind if I don't have a husband, I don't mind if I don't have a stable home for them, I just want to be a mother because I want to know what it's like to have a kid. Is that the father's fault as well? Talking about deadbeat and stereotypes. You see, the memory is starting to come back now. The fog is clearing. It's clearing. You know? Stereotypes. Faith, you do not need a black man to open his mouth. I'm trying not to use the F word. Please help me. You do not need a black man to tell you about black women. Just give a black woman a camera. We have World Star. What was the one I found the other day? Ghetto Hot. We have Real Housewives of Atlanta, Real Housewives of Potomac, Love and Hip Hop, Growing Up Hip Hop. We have all the shows that depict black women, and we buy into these shows because we can relate to them. Not all black women are hood. Not all black women operate with that degree of ratchetry. But yes, even the ones who are not living that life do not call out the ones that do. So when you are telling me 70% out of wedlock birth rate, and one of the things she said was the stereotype of a black man is he leaves his family. Faith, if the man has not committed to you, if the man has not decided to make you his wife, guess what? There is no family for him to leave. Leaving you when you are pregnant is not leaving his family, because he never wanted to make a family with you to begin with. It just happened he wanted some sex, he wanted you for sex, or whoever, not you personally, but any woman that gets into this situation, as I've stated in other videos, as brothers will tell you out of their own mouth, there are categories and levels to women that they put these women into. And if you are not wife material for him, that's fine. But if you voluntarily have sex with a man who does not want to be there for you, and if a child should come about does not want to be there for the child, that's not the man's fault. That is our fault, because we willingly consent to sex with these men. Whatever happens as a result, as a consequence, we have to take responsibility, because it's our body, our life, our mind. Okay, you can... I had one woman tell me yesterday, you know, God works in mysterious ways. That's why we can put them on child support. Are you smoking crack? Do you take crack? How the hell can you tell me as an adult woman that putting a man on child support is punishment? The only person who is suffering in this situation is the child, because the child is being used as a pawn and a ball back and forth between 2 adults who hate each other but are now tied for life through this child. So how can you tell me there's equality and stereotypes, and why are you using, bashing black women? Because black women make themselves look bad through the way they present themselves in the media, in the streets. We are the ones who do damage to our own image. Black men calling out the failures and the failings of black women is not bashing. So to use this trigger word of, oh, you're online all day bashing black women, when black women have been talking smack about black men here in the UK, in the States, in Africa, you just open your mouth and talk about a black man. And immediately, yo, black man this, black man that. It's in us. Part of it is raised, it's cultured into us because of our experience. You see, the contempt that we have for black men is not really just the black man's fault. We feel let down and hurt by black men. And in some instances, black men have hurt us. But we also are never taught to see the other side of the story, which is these black men who get access to hurt us, whether it's our fathers leaving us, whether it's some type of assault, whether it's rape, whether it's abuse, whether it's poverty, whether it's, whatever, rejection. We also have to look at the women who created an environment for this to happen. And that never gets talked about with black women to the extent that it needs to. So when I wanted to walk down the street and do this video while it was still fresh in my mind, but I couldn't upload it because, as per usual, the space is limited and it won't upload. I'm going to put the video down below and you can listen to it for yourself. When she said at the end of the video, I don't need to fight for the changes in the law for black men because they don't affect me. Yes, they do, Faith. Those laws do affect you. If you're not going to campaign to change the law, at least help with black women to actually be better black women. Not making excuses all the time. Because as somebody said, what about your sons? What about your grandsons? The women that we create today are going to sting our sons and grandsons tomorrow. They're going to be trapping them with babies, putting them on child support. And the same black women who talk about, these laws don't affect me, are the ones saying to black men, what have you built? How the hell can a man build something if every penny he gets is being siphoned off through child support? And then when the man can't pay child support, he's being locked up. Right, I'm fair. I'll say, look, brothers, you need to stop getting your validation from how much vagina you're getting into. There's no big achievement being able to say, I run through bitches. That is not an achievement. Any man who's getting his validation from how many women he sleeps with, to an extent, is not a real man. We all like sex. We understand you have a high sex drive. We understand that the black culture is raised up this way. But you have not achieved anything by saying, I know how to seduce a lot of women into bed. Because unless you are some type of porn star or pimp or something, that shit is not making you any money. It's a waste of your time. It's a waste of your energy. The scripture says, do not give your strength to women. Why? For two reasons. Are we talking about physical strength, of which when you ejaculate, there is a loss of energy and strength? Or are we talking about even your power? Because the more you are elevating, putting, the ability to get women on a pedestal, I said this before, I'm going to actually do a video about this. Whatever you are a slave to, or whoever you obey, is a scripture. It says, whoever you obey, that is your master. If you are doing all these games and tricks to get a lot of vagina, you are actually a slave to pussy. That's what you are. You are a slave to it. You are addicted. And just like any addict, you say, I have control of it, when really it has control of you. I can put down the drink anytime I want. I can stop taking drugs anytime I want. And there you are with the bottle to your mouth at 7 in the morning. So how are you in control when you have no self-control? So I understand both sides, that as a man, you cannot turn around and say you are free from addiction, and at the same time, everything you do is geared towards female validation and gaining sexual access. But at the same time, as women, we have to own our share of responsibility. It's not 50-50, because if you have a one-night stand with a man and afterwards you never see each other again, but you find out you're pregnant, the man, wherever he's gone, is not pregnant too. That man's not walking around with his period stopped and his belly growing, stretch marks forming, hormones all over the place. He is completely oblivious. So if you don't want to at least take care of your sexual health for the sake of brothers, take care of your sexual health for the sake of yourself. Using the child and spiting the man is why we have a broken community, and why brothers want to leave to go and find women who at least are not perfect, because none of us are perfect. We have female nature, which I do believe to an extent is universal, but there are cultures where it's more controlled than others. People with the women have a greater sense of self-awareness. They're more grounded, they're more realistic about life. But if it's a comparison between a woman abroad and a woman in the West, where the culture is completely a mess, brothers are like, I can deal with the female effery over there because it's nothing compared to what I have to deal with here. This conversation it epitomizes exactly why black men are becoming, increasingly frustrated, and they're either becoming very abusive and nasty to women because they're like, you keep trying to play this game, but the cat is out of the bag, or they're just walking away. It's time for us all to do better, to just fly the white flag and just acknowledge that, look, at the end of the day, you cannot complain about the state of the black community if we as women do not address the issues that black women have. And telling black women the truth is not bashing. Lying to a black woman, selling them a dream, is more harmful than telling them the truth and letting them decide what they want to do with it. That's all I've got for this video. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you have not subscribed, hit the subscribe button, like, comment, let me know what you think down below, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.